Most of them know him already, but he's one of the pioneers and leaders in the value-based healthcare community. He has been working for about 15 years extensively on value-based healthcare and has helped hundreds of projects with his expertise and experience in this field for projects actually around 5 continents. He will lead us a little bit about into the theme of today, building digital architecture to deliver value-based healthcare. Fred, the floor is yours. Step forward. Go ahead.
Henrik, thank you very much. It's a real delight to see you. Super good. Absolutely nice when we start in September every year to get the right applicants and do all that, and then the day is there, the high day of the year on value-based healthcare. So wonderful that you're here and online, and I can say, you know, there's a lot of inspiration that I achieved from all the projects, and hopefully that will work. There is a sort of a tradition for the last 5 years that I'll try to say something about VBHC implementation. Maybe it's useful, maybe not, but at least you can get some of my impressions on it. And I'll try to do it quickly. I want to go through all the slides. They're always available. Okay, so that is what I like to do, and that's what I will do. So we have these 12, and already I congratulate you with the nomination. Right? That's already a thing you should put on the internet and let your bosses know and everybody else, because it's quite a rigorous process. So I thank the jury and everybody else to figure out when you get it. It's getting harder every year. So that's not because we raise the bar, it's because you raise the bar. So that's pretty good to see that process. Now, talking a little bit about this address, so I did that the last couple of years. They're all available online. And last year we have, I should keep it in my hand. Should I start all over? No? Okay. So last year we had the 10th, and the 10th is a sort of looking back, looking forward. So we said, you know, we've done 10 years together, we've achieved a lot, celebrated a little bit, but what's next? And basically said, we know how to implement, we know it can be done, it may not be the easiest thing in the world, but there are a couple of things that we need to address in the next 10 years to make sure we have a good heritage for the generations after us. And we had 5 frontiers. I'm not going to go through all of them, but that was last year. We said these are apparently a couple of the things that we VBHC implementers face. One of the obvious ones is the macro scare everybody's facing everywhere, cutting costs without really thinking about how you do that, and having that fear, which is not helping us. That's not what I'm going to talk about. One of the things that we spent some time on the last 2 years is basically think about item number 4. So compassionate, data-driven doctors and teams. How are we gonna move forward on that digital data stuff? We see a lot of developments. We try a lot in practice, but we need to speed that up. We need to hit that wall. We need to go through it. We can no longer just work our way around all kinds of data and infrastructures that we have, because the teams are screaming to move forward and say, you know, we want to scale up, we want to do more, we want to get it going, but you know, man, it's a nightmare to get the data at the moment. I do, and I spent some time on it. I don't have a claim I'm the best techie in the world, so just some thoughts on how we may think about that from an implementation perspective. So it's all in the slide. So we see now people like you and many others are taking the lessons from the people that did it on all kinds of stuff with multiple IPUs, different ways of working, and I'm very happy, we're very happy with all the questions we receive and all the examples we have, and hopefully we sometimes can help you speed up or think about certain things. It's all details. Implementation is never glorious, it's never brilliant, there's always little things you're going to tremble over, but if you can help move your way around it or avoid it, then that I think is very, very useful for our community in doing that. So there's a lot of things that we have there. We talked about it, but then we had this easy phrase last time of saying, well, you know, we need compassionate, data-driven doctors. Okay, well, sort of, you cannot be against it, not compassionate, and not using data seems a little bit weird. And all the applicants and nominees we see contain this data stuff. And we say we need to do that. And what has been the original idea from, let's say, the trajectory on value-based healthcare and data from that angle? It has been this notion, number one is, if we are able to have these integrated practice units or teams of teams, and we are able to make sure that the data works there in the sense of outcomes, in the terms of process flows, in the terms of medical decision making, in terms of learning from the patients we had before. We can achieve roughly a 10x better performance that we have if we just do it in our integrated practice unit. And that's a lot of work in trying to do that. So that should be sort of our aim there. The second thought was, well, the moment we are able to bring at the moment of truth the decision making for planning, decision making for patients, the decision making for not to intervene or to intervene, and we are able to get the data and the knowledge in that researchers are doing at universities, that are we working on with our patients. If we can bring that to the moment that we take decisions and get that data there and learn about that, we actually can expect a much higher productivity gain because we're going to be quicker, faster, and easier. And I know many of you have parts or big parts involved in your implementation and saying we want to get access to the data because we want to improve our treatments or not treat, and that's what we need to have. And we want to make it easy to schedule because we're doing all kinds of things we could be avoiding. And then the big dream has always been, and I think many of us have that, whoa, suppose we would be able to get the data and the knowledge available in the world on my loved one's specific medical problem. Wouldn't that be great? Not wait for 10 years or have protocols or things like that. Wouldn't it be great if we have patients know best, patients like me, and of course last year we've seen these experiments, I think we all do, with JetGTP type of things and see if we can sort of use that in a better way. I know many have tried to use AI, radiology or other things, and try to get gaming with colleagues around the world, say, what would you do with this data compared to what we'd be doing? And wouldn't that be great that we ultimately will have that on the table? And if you have that on the table, it's you know, what's the original dream, saying if you have that from whether it's personalized medicine or personalized delivery or whatever you want to call it, but if you have that available, instead of we are still struggling with IT and automation to improve our current processes or overcome our current not so well designed organizations. So if that's what we do, we should do that. There's no, of course we do that, we applaud it, but that is basically solving an issue that we have not organized pretty well. What we should do, hopefully over time, is move to this, why not bring the world to my problem? And that is basically what we now see. Well, that's easily said, not easily done, but many of us are involved at the moment with AI or large language models or gamification, or trying to see if we can do that, and we see that in certain fields. But we avoided that, but we must somehow start collaborating or bridge the gap with the people that are responsible for the data and the architectures and the apps and the what have you, because otherwise we will not speed up. We need to move forward and not just what I've done a lot of the times is spend a lot of time organizing the integrated practice unit and work our way around the existing data and IT architecture. And at a certain point you're going to hit a wall. So let's see if we can start bridging that and get the people that love to work with us on that to do that as well. So apparently, the real IT people here will probably laugh about it, but apparently in transformation there seems to be this sort of model from IT people say, you know, I'm responsible for the IT and the data department or whatever, and what I can do is I can say, well, you know, I'm going to allow these teams to add new apps, new stuff. So you have something for you have a new app, you can fill in the prompts, you can do this, and that's great because it will engage and it will improve and it's fine. But if I do that 100 times, something's going to happen in my architecture. Something's going to happen with my data. If I'm going to allow certain parts of the organization to have pathways automatically done, that's great, that will work. But the moment I hit too much, it's going to be darn hard to make sure that I have data integrity and that it's going to work. So I need to do something. So if I'm an IT manager, which I'm not, then I could say, I can allow that because it's good, right? It will show we're making progress, it's fun, we get use cases, it's great, right? We get excited about it. And then you have another traditional bunch of people say, well, wait please, I'm going to spend 2 or 3 years first to build an architecture, and once we have a super good architecture, the world's going to be perfect. You can do anything you like. And I was say, yeah, but in between we have patience. Yeah, but just have patience because we first need to build this architecture and we're going to spend a lot of time on it. And then people say, most of them, and that's at least my observation, in practice is most say we do something in between. We do a little bit more on the patient angle, and we do a little bit on the architecture, and we do a little bit on the data, and sort of we try to get there. And it's taking a long time, correct? It's taking, that's not the IT people per se, it's us, right? It takes a long time to get it at scale. So we hope to be at 4. This is an MIT model, and it says, you know, can we not leapfrog? Can we not start a different way? Forget about it and start with a data-based, from a data patient perspective, implementation. How would we do that? Instead of improving what we have today and try to support that and automate and digitalize and within, suppose we would do that in the other way. Or we want to move to something, but what's that something? So I spent a little time with a couple of you and others and say, is there something from a VBHC perspective that will maybe at least or help us move to something? Or we say, well, we're going to have organizations say we're going to start fresh and we're going to do it in a different angle and not go through this painful process of doing that. So it's a choice, huh? And I'm not sure if what you want to do. And having a look at that, we came up, not I didn't invent it, but spent some time on this notion of digital twinning. Sounds good. What it basically is I've seen it work most for the last couple of years in manufacturing 5.0. The idea is quite simple. You have the physical production of your plants and of things that you have, and you create a digital twin that prescribes exactly how that's working, and it's connected. So you can, on the digital frame, see if I simulate or try some things, how's it going to work, and immediately it's also going to work in my machines. Or the other way around, I do something different with the machines that is captured from a data perspective in a digital twinning, and if I do that, I can do that. This is a way the Amazon, Siemens, and others are trying to remanufacture the Western world. So hopefully we're going to do that. So that's the notion. Much easier. We've seen it in medicine. Of course, we try everything in medicine. So this is an example I found very nice. We have a patient. We have a lot of data from the patient coming from the biology, coming from other research, coming from whatever that image is of that person. And then we're going to have, we're going to have twins. We're going to simulate different pills or whatever in that patient. And hopefully if we do enough, ultimately it says that's the pill that probably has the highest chance. And we create that. Why do I like that? Because it's pretty close on what you try to deliver. And you can see this both at an individual patient or medicine perspective, but you could also think about it in terms of processes. So if I have a digital twin compared to my physical twin, instead of organizing from the physical world and then hopefully optimize and automate, which is good, but I can try to move in this way. So that is what I have there. Can I have this? So other examples here is Alex. I like this one. So we have Alex, and we also have the digital twin Alex. And with this digital twin Alex, as a parent or as a doctor or as a team, we can sort of experiment with our digital Alex. And Alex is doing things, and that's basically going to change his digital profile as well. Sort of metaverse, but I'm not sure that's what we want to talk about. But at least it's that idea that will actually maybe help and optimize in much more of a way than we do it sequentially. So that is what we hopefully will see, and some people are doing this actually quite successful. It may help from all these different things we do in the physical world, apps, diagnostics, and all kinds of other great stuff where we capture data, where we do things, but it's all in the physical world. We can mirror that. If you accept the notion of the digital twin, we can mirror that in the digital twin, and then it's not that we mirror it. The thing is this connection. Can we help the patient for what we've seen from a digital angle, and can we also get what the patient has experienced captured digitally? Okay? I'm not talking about the EU Privacy Authority at the moment. I'm just talking about, wouldn't this be great? If we could this going, and if we keep this in mind, we may be focusing slightly differently on our progression in incorporating IT data and things like that. We say, this is probably something we would like to achieve, or we may want to start with it. So there are many examples of it. If you really, I was fascinated, of course, by what I see in supply chains and in industry and how to think about it and what's going on. I think it's technically quite interesting to see how that's done and how it works and it doesn't work. Of course, we run into all kinds of things that we need to think about in data and getting that done, so it doesn't sort of say, oh, all the data is there, we can do it easily. There is some cleaning up to do, don't get me wrong, we need to do that. But basically, Basically, it would be nice if we would not only have this digital thread, but also from a patient perspective, we could add this knowledge from the whole system that we have and from the rest of the world, and not just the individual threads that we collect in data that I see now in some great apps. Don't get me wrong. I like that a lot, but this is probably what we could do more. So, thank you, my dear VBHC implementation community. 5 years from now, you may say this was the best presentation ever. You may say this was the most idiotic presentation ever. But it sort of shows we tried to deal with those 5 barriers we had last year. I think we are now in a position to say we can implement VBHC. It works. It's not the easiest thing in the world. There are a couple of barriers that we need to collectively work on. And you'll see today that we try to work on that. And that, I think, is the big change from the first 10 years compared to the next 10 years of what we try to do with hopefully our VBHC community. And of course, it's your thinking and your inputs and your ideas. It's not that I can dream this up. It's not going to work. Okay, so you see all the other things working. Final thing is, start with the patient. So let's not go overboard. Start with the patient and then create a digital twin of Alex, maybe. But start with the patient, start with the team, then start with the systems and the IT and the organizations. It's not intended to say let's have the AI and the large language models do our work. It's going to be very, very dangerous if we go overboard in appreciating this great technology. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed today. And I've seen in all of your examples that you're fiddling around and finding ways with data and IT that gives me much hope for me and my loved ones and hopefully for you. Thank you.